Greetings. So glad you found your way to today's Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains Sunday service. I am Beth Karow and not Gail Johnson Vaughan, who, after working so hard to craft this service as the worship associate, has asked me to step in for her today as she is unfortunately feeling quite under the weather. Similarly, our location plans have changed as well. We're not in the park. We had so hoped to be able to greet each other face to face at Congdon Park, but alas, COVID-19 version 2.0 has made it too risky. On top of that, we have really smoky, very unhealthy air as well. The river fire in our own Nevada County, begun on Wednesday, has us all indoors and on edge. And some of us are even connecting online today from evacuation points. Thank goodness we have such a good tech team to pick up the pieces and bring this service directly to you, wherever you are. I'm going to try to be doing double duty as chat host, but maybe we can be mindful to help each other as needed. So, deep breath, and here we go. Please join me in singing our first song, Peace Like a River, number 100, if you have a hymnal.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got strength like the mountain, I've got strength like the mountain, I've got strength like the mountain in my soul. I've got strength like the mountain, I've got strength like the mountain, I've got strength like the mountain in my soul.
Yes, so much in my soul today. And a joyous welcome to UUCM. Today, a beloved member of our community, the Reverend Karyn Packard, will be helping us explore the question, what does it mean to be connected? We are certainly living that question right now as we reach out and support each other from the assault of the river fire. What a blessing to know that some of our members have put out their welcome mats for other members of our UUCM community who have had to evacuate their homes. Thankfully, so far there have been no UUCM homes lost, and the fire was 56% contained as of 7 p.m. last night. I confess I haven't checked this morning. Also, we're aware of the heightened risk of COVID virus spiking in our community in shocking numbers, 400 new cases just since last Sunday. And just when we were beginning to think about letting down our guard. While I appreciate, as you probably do too, the availability of the technology, I am so tired of Zoom. Oh, and there are the questions looming around the proposed reopening of the local industrial gold mine. There will be a hosted breakout room focused on that after the service. In the words of Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel, when you're weary, and we are, feeling small. For me, so small compared to everything happening everywhere. When tears are in your eyes, we need to know that we are connected to those who will dry them all and be on our side. At a time like this, and frankly, really all the time, meaningful connection is the balm that makes us whole. It is the bridge over troubled water. So today, I am welcoming you to more than just this Sunday service. I am welcoming you to this community of faithful friends. Whether you have been among us for a very long time and already treasure the many associations you have here, or whether you've connected with only a few among our community, or whether you are just stepping into our midst, I hope you feel welcome here and welcomed to the many ways to build caring and sharing friendships of support. You, wherever you are on your path to being able to live from your authentic self, are welcome here. Our connections bridge across the age groups, young and not so young, connecting in ways that may surprise and possibly delight you. No matter who you love or how you pray or don't pray, you are welcome here. And even if you find yourself, as I do, on a roller coaster of emotions through this prolonged pandemic, or maybe you've breezed through it, you are welcome here. This is a place, a community, where we can love and be loved, support and be supported, laugh and play and grieve and gripe together, where we can safely withdraw into our protective caves and not be forgotten. Or we can be an inextinguishable extrovert, or both, or either, depending on the circumstances. Welcome to UUCM. It is good to be together.
The chalice reading this morning is by Ashley Horan. How is it with your soul? Perhaps joyous at being together. Perhaps for you it's been a hard week. So, beloveds, how is it with your soul? I invite you to pause. Take a deep breath. Say a prayer. Sing a song. Light your chalice. Feel the force of gravity pulling you towards the center. Do whatever helps you to feel more rooted and less alone. Now is your opportunity to light your home chalice.
Good morning. The Nevada City Rancheria on land previously owned by the Nisenan leader Charlie Culley was created by executive order of President Woodrow Wilson in 1913 and terminated by the Congress in 1964, along with other California rancherias. Each week, in recognition that we are on Nisenan land, we put a basket of black oak acorns, on our altar. We acknowledge Nisenan people are still here amongst us today, though they are nearly invisible and their story continues to be excluded from history. We understand we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded and that the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria, Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as a campaign to restore tribal sovereignty through federal recognition.
The opening words today, "We need one another," written by George E. Odell. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted.
We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid.
We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again.
We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
All our lives we are in need, and others need us.
Our wisdom for all ages is Shel Silverstein's The Missing Piece, and it is read and presented with the permission of HarperCollins Publishers. It was missing a piece, and it was not happy. So it set off in search of its missing piece. And as it rolled, it sang this song. Oh, I'm looking for my missing piece. I'm looking for my missing piece. Heidi-ho, here I go, looking for my missing piece. Sometimes it baked in the sun, but then the cool rain would come down. And sometimes it was frozen by the snow, but then the sun would come and warm it again. And because it was missing a piece, it could not roll very fast, so it would stop to talk to a worm or smell a flower. And sometimes it would pass a beetle, and sometimes the beetle would pass it. And this was the best time of all. And on it went, over oceans. Oh, I'm looking for my missing piece, over land and overseas. So grease my knees and fleece my bees. I'm looking for my missing piece. Through swamps and jungles, up mountains and down mountains, until one day, lo and behold, I found my missing piece, it sang. I found my missing piece, so grease my knees and fleece my bees. I've found my... Wait a minute, said the piece. Before you go greasing your knees and fleecing your bees, I am not your missing piece. I am nobody's piece. I am my own piece. And even if I was somebody's missing piece, I don't think I'd be yours. Oh, it said sadly, I'm sorry to have bothered you. And on it rolled. It found another piece, but this one was too small. And this one was too big. This one was a little too sharp. And this one was too square. One time it seemed to have found the perfect piece, but it didn't hold it tightly enough and lost it. Another time, it held too tightly and it broke. So on and on it rolled, having adventures, falling into holes, and bumping into stone walls. And then one day, it came upon another piece that seemed to be just right. Hi, it said. Hi, said the piece. Are you anybody else's missing piece? Not that I know of. Well, maybe you want to be your own piece. I can be someone's and still be my own. Well, maybe you don't want to be mine. Maybe I do. Maybe we won't fit. Well, it fit. It fit perfectly, at last. And away it rolled. And because it was now complete, it rolled faster and faster, faster than it had ever rolled before. So fast that it could not stop to talk to a worm or smell a flower. Too fast for a butterfly to land, but it could sing its happy song. At last, it could sing, I've found my missing piece. And it began to sing, I found my missing piece. I found the missing breeze, so grace my knees, embrace my dreams. I found. Oh my. Now that it was complete, it could not sing at all. Aha, it thought. So, that's how it is. So it stopped rolling. And it set the piece down gently and slowly rolled away. And as it rolled, it softly sang, "Oh, I'm looking for my missing piece. I'm looking for my missing piece. Heidi-ho, here I go, looking for my missing piece." As Cheryl and Corey read in the opening words by George Odell, all our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. We need each other when we are in trouble and afraid, and also when we are looking to share our triumphs of success. Thoughts of fire, of plague, of uncertainty fill our minds. And all at the same time, simple and yet profound joys warm our hearts. It seems like now, more than ever before, there are so many ways we need each other and are asked to comfort, to encourage, and to simply witness and hold space for each other. And one of the most simplest and yet most profound, powerful ways comes each week in the shape of this beloved ritual known as the sharing of joys and sorrows, where as we name some of what we are holding in our hearts and minds, we are held by each other in a circle of caring. Together, let us breathe for a few moments and feel our connections, enjoy some music and beautiful slides. If you would like our community to know how it is with your spirit and why, you may type a brief note into the Zoom chat box and press the Enter Return key. I will be reading some of what is shared.
Good morning. In these past days, we've all been looking through the glass darkly. Smoke has robbed us of our blue skies and our clean air, and people that we love have been forced into reacting to the dangers of the encroaching fires. And yet we've heard that others have welcomed them in or volunteered at the fairgrounds to welcome in their animals, or even sat and petitioned for the safety of those people in our hearts. Much is at stake, and much is out of our hands. And so now I'm going to ask you to just center yourselves. I'm going to take you on a little meditation, a little guided meditation. There's a danger in that, what you see when you close your eyes might very well not be what I see, but trust me in this one and just be still and let's see if we can take ourselves to a beautiful place. Close your eyes. See our county, our surroundings, the way we want it to be. Let's start with the sky. It's a clear day, and the sky is beautiful. And from some places, we can see all the way to the Sierra Mountains. They're craggy and majestic and strong and powerful, and we can imagine the challenges of those early settlers climbing over them full of such hope. This is what they found. This is where they decided to plant seeds for their future lives. We're grateful for their determination and their grit, especially as we look around and are struck by the beautiful trees, pines and cedars and oaks. They're in danger in these fire times, and we love them. And we want so much to protect them. They speak to us, and they even speak to each other. We know that they're surrounding us. Ah, listen. Hear the birds sing. One calls, the other answers. There's a cacophony as the woodpeckers make their stand, or the hawk flies near. And they remind us of our ever-changing lives, their instincts, their fortitudes that send them on just the right journey for their health and their safety. And best of all, the times that they return to us. And then we're on the banks of the beautiful Yuba River. It's running more slowly these times, but it beckons us to join it as it romps over sandbars and rocks, and the light sparkles on it, and it makes it feel like it's a gift just for us. And so now it's time to return to our homes, to those places that make us our very selves, those places where when we close the door, we feel safe and we feel secure. And so on this day, we petition, we pray for safety and for security in our homes, in our surroundings, in our relationships, for us, for our families. We imagine it so. We lift up the messages of love and care and concern. We lift up Gail Schultz after Robert's death. And I share with you her words in a conversation where she said, "He made it. He made it." And our friend Carmen Riley also made it in her own way. Today is her 5th anniversary of sobriety. She thanks her UUCM family for all their love and support through these years. A milestone. And for all those who suffer from COVID, who are afraid of COVID, who have family members and friends, for the challenges that surround us in conversation and in care, we ask for guidance and peace and healing. We ask all these things knowing that when we ask, they are so. May we see all this in our minds and in our hearts and manifest it in our actions. And so it is. Jordan's going to lead us in our next song, which is From You I Receive. And if you have your hymnal at home, it's on number 402.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
What does it mean to be connected? I'd like to read some short words from David Brooks. I don't know if you enjoy him as much as I do, but let me share with you his words on connection. I've come to think that flourishing puts yourself in situations where you lose self-consciousness and you become fused with other people and with experiences or tasks. And it happens sometimes when you're lost in a hard challenge, or when an artist or a craftsman becomes one with a brush or a tool. It happens when you're playing sports, or when you're listening to music, or lost in a story, or to some people, it happens when they're enveloped in an experience of God's love. And it happens most when we connect with other people. I'm feeling a little whiplash with the fires and the uptick of cases of COVID that we've seen. And I'm very sorry we're not together in the park. But seeing the air quality, as we were talking about before, it's clear, well, not exactly clear, that this park wasn't the place for us this morning. However, even as we've had our setbacks, I want us to focus on how we're going to make the most of our future. What are our opportunities for future connection, or, as I'm going to say, reconnection? How can we come together in ways that strengthen us individually and strengthen us as a community? What are the components that we want to focus on to be able to mutually support each other as we come together again? Maybe it's a good thing that our reconnection has been more gradual than we might have wanted, because it's an opportunity for all of us to reflect and think about what we have to plan, because we want UUCM to flourish. And we want to flourish ourselves. And it's time not to look back, but to look ahead on who we want to be and what we want to do. In seminary, I've told you about my Old Testament professor, Walter Brueggemann. He talked about the early Hebrew people going from being organized to being disorganized to being reorganized. So I stole from him a little bit for today, and we're going to talk about being connected in our minds. We were connected, then having been disconnected, and now beginning to have the opportunity to be reconnected. And in the end, I've only selected 3 things to look at, and there are lots, and I'm hoping that today will make you start thinking about, for you, in your reflection, what you think is needed. I know you'll think of many more, but I like schemas, and so this is a way for me to put my information, my thoughts, down on paper. First, I suggest as an intervention that we improve our listening ability. I'll start with a short story. You know that I like to do that, don't you? I was a young chaplain, and the doctors and nurses around an ICU family were very irritated. There was a young girl who was brain dead on a ventilator, 13 years old, and they couldn't seem to be certain that the family knew she was actually dead and was ready to make some decisions about how we moved into creating some sacred space and a time to take her off the ventilator. And so they said, Karyn, go up there and talk to those people, and make them see reason and make them, we can't, it's against the law. We can't keep things the way they are right now. We need for you to get something to happen. And I was too stupid then to tell him that I really couldn't do that. So, yes, I'll do it. So I went up to the ICU room, and it was the kind of ICU room that doesn't have walls. It has drapes around it on all sides, so it's actually more roomy. And the little girl was lying there, and her mother was sitting beside her, and the rest of the room was empty, and there was no people, and there was no other chair. And I stood outside the curtain, and I thought, oh my God, that's a prayer. What am I going to do? I grabbed a chair, and I stood outside the curtain. I thought, where am I going to put it? Where am I going to place that chair? So I placed it about as far away from her as I could get, still inside the curtain. And I sat down. And I quietly said, I'm Karyn, and I'm the chaplain. Is it okay if I sit here with you? Nothing. I'm already sitting. What do I do now? Well, I sat for a good 25 minutes without anything being said or done. And then I heard, would you pray? Teaching my students, I used to teach them this simple hand motion that said, if you move more than 25% into somebody's space, they have 2 choices about how to react. They can either back up or they can smack you. And I've seen both things happen, especially to people in crisis. So the message is, move a little, and leave all the choices to the other people. Two of our UU principles instruct us to listen and not to judge. We're asked to be mindful of the dignity and worth of all people and the need for companionship in all relations. And through this pandemic, we've learned that physical proximity matters as much for loneliness as it does for happiness. But when we come into someone else's space, what we're trying to create is trust. And it takes trust to listen, and it also takes trust to be listened to. As we saw in Lerner's quote, listening is an essential part of having a voice. And listening with an open heart in order to understand the other person requires intention and commitment and practice. It's a spiritual exercise. Think about the challenges we've had discussing masks and vaccinations, let alone the politics. So speaking to difference is not the same as trying to convince or change the other person. It doesn't imply that the other person's wrong and that truth is on our side, although we might be convinced that it is. Instead, it requires us to clarify and refine our differences with as much respect for the other person's different perspectives as we can possibly muster. And believe me that this kind of respect is contagious. You will find yourself inspiring others when that's the tact that you take. Balance your critical responses with more positive ones. When you listen to other people with attention and care, those people feel validated and they feel enhanced. And we build the trust, don't we, for the development of really meaningful relationships. As we get back together, we have a lot to listen to. We have a lot to listen to. Not. As a chaplain, it was my job to help people discover what they believed in. Not what Karyn believed in, not what I'd been taught in seminary. In fact, I'd had to be untaught to take the role of ethicist and chaplain. The job was, when you're in chaos, when you're having struggles, you need to discover what it is you believe in. Conversations begin with questions and not answers. I was reading a book called Connections, wonder why I would have done that, by Nicholas Christakis. I heard him interviewed on NPR. And he drew a diagram, and in that diagram, he drew all the connections that we have, friends and family and neighbors and people at church and all these things. But he pointed out that those were all short lines because all of those lines could be altered. People could die. People could get sick. People could have arguments. People could move away. They were transient. But what people need is one connection, one, I'll use connection, although you might come up with a better word than I, where they feel it cannot be taken away. For me, that connection is God. There's a scripture that I've always responded to that says nothing separates us from the love of God. So that means something to me. But that's not the only connection that we can find. David Brooks talks about losing yourself in music, in art, in nature, in learning something new. I'll ask for a slide, and I'll tell you about Matt and Amy. If you can read what's on the slide, it says Adaptive Freedom Foundation. Some of you know that Matt is my son, Amy is his partner. And without knowing this about each other, within 2 months of each other, Matthew had a huge stroke. He occluded the entire right side of his brain at 37 years old. And Amy, who was a flight attendant for United, in between flights was in Hong Kong and was hit in the head with a double-decker bus so that the glass on the window broke on her face, side of her head. So the two of them began a journey of coming back. And the connection that they both had, even before they realized each other was a connection as well, was water. For Matthew, when his dad died and he was small, going out in the water surfing was better for him than therapy. For Amy, she's also a surfer and bodyboarder and raised in Southern California and loved the water. And so they returned to the water for their own healing. In one of my patient visits with a Buddhist Japanese man, he began having his family bring in his bonsai trees to me. And every bonsai tree had been passed down to him. Then he'd cared for it through his adult life. And now as he was ready to die, he was readying his bonsais to pass on. And so that was our chaplain visits. I've noticed that people who are struggling, who are in chaos, who are nearing death, are looking for that connection. What do you believe in that can't be taken away? What undergirds you as you go forward in your life? Are you prepared to engage others with curiosity about the answers to those questions for them? Do you have an open heart and a mind for self-discovery? Another slide. A week ago, Matt and Amy invited me to go to Hawaii. Freedom Foundation provides water experiences for disabled or sick people, children and adults. Half of the day was Shriners Hospital's patients, and the last half of the day was disabled Marines. And this is Annabelle, and that's Matthew, and he's teaching her how to hold her own paddle for when he takes her out on the surfboard. Bob, you can go ahead and show the next. This was a tiny bit video. This was my error. This is a little boy from Shriners Hospital from Fiji. Here he goes, and that's Matthew. He has no ability to talk. He can't talk. And so Matthew is telling him what's going to happen and getting him so he's not anxious and loading him into the seat and getting him all positioned. And the only thing he can do is he can do thumbs up and he can do thumbs down and he can do shaka which is our Hawaiian for everything's okay. I stood on the shore while he went out with Matthew, and next to me was his grandma. And she had a long muumuu and a towel over her head, and she was crying. And then I noticed that I was crying too. And so I took a couple steps and I wrapped my arms around her. And she began to rock me and pray. Thank you, God, for all this love for my grandson. Thank you. Ala Moana Beach Park had become holy ground. I interviewed a man who wanted to volunteer, and he said, I've had 2 strokes and a heart transplant. What can I do? Our 4th principle asks us to search for meaning, and religious community leads to the formation of groups and life experiences and common purposes that connect us so powerfully. Slide, please. This therapy dog rides on the paddle boards as the youngsters go out. She's the therapy dog from Kapiolani Women's and Children's Hospital. You'll notice she's wearing a dress and her life vest. These volunteers come from every walk of life. Every one of them has a story like you do, and the webs of their story make humanity better than the sum of all of its parts. Like I said before, these kinds of behaviors are contagious. When a person is treated well by someone, when they go out of their way to treat others well in the future, all human beings are powerful. So we must act together and achieve what we could not on our own. And lastly, to close, a quick story about one of our own nursing homes. Can you put up Max's picture, Bob? This is my therapy dog, Maxwell, our therapy dog. I was asked to go see, we were asked to go see a hospice patient with Parkinson's and PTSD from Vietnam who was violent, and no one knew how to work with him. And they wondered, maybe an animal would make a difference. I brought him, I lifted him, and put him, this man, I could hear him hollering all the way down the hall. He was in the last room. I sat for a minute because I was scared. I didn't know. I'd been told what had happened in that room, and I didn't know what to do. And I lifted Maxwell, and I put him over the railing. And the man began to take his contractured hands and rub them up and down on Maxwell's back. And Maxwell submitted, laid his head down, relaxed on my arm, and let that man do anything he wanted. And the man looked up at Maxwell and said, I love you. Flourishing happens when we connect with people, and I might add, when we connect with animals. And so may it be in our future here at UUCM. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Karyn. Wow, I'm touched. Yes, being connected, the need to be able to give and to receive is built into our very DNA. Each week, we share this time of offering what we can to be used on our behalf to keep this UUCM community strong and to help create a world more compassionate, sustainable, and just. And a community beyond violence. Who doesn't want that? That's why for our Pass the Plate partner, for the entire month of August, we've chosen Nevada County's nonprofit Community Beyond Violence, formerly known as the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Coalition. For those of you who are new to UUCM, let me explain. Each month, we share 25% of our offering to a local nonprofit that works as boots on the ground on issues that support our values and concerns. Stress is a major byproduct of the ongoing pandemic and the fire. And stress increases frustration and interpersonal violence. Families are locked down at home. Children are out of sight of the child abuse prevention system. Breadwinners are deprived of their livelihood and their self-worth. Now, more than ever, the work of Community Beyond Violence needs our financial support. So, as we now pass our virtual basket among you, please know that your generous gift makes a real impact. And Allison will now explain the various ways that you can give.
Although we're not passing the basket in person, your generosity remains essential to our ability to sustain the work of our community. There are several ways to contribute. You may text an amount to 833-579-0483, give via our website at uugrassvalley.org, via PayPal at paypal.me/UUCM, or mail to UUCM 246 South Church Street, Grass Valley, California 95945. Thank you.
Thank you for your generosity. We dedicate these gifts to the pursuit of peace for all families through these stressful times and beyond. Many thanks today to Gail Johnson Vaughan for all the hard work and heavy lifting you did for this service and for asking me to help when you needed to step away. And we all wish you a speedy recovery. To Reverend Karyn Packard for her thoughtful wordsmithing and service crafting. It is truly a joy to be in community with you. Thank you. And gratitude to our music director, Jordan. Thank you so much to our readers, Corey, Teresa, Cheryl, and Carmen. For her work on our altar this morning, thanks to Shanti. Huge kudos to our fantastically flexible and incredibly hardworking AV master, Mr. Bob Miller. And our amazing production crew, Reverend Kevin, Carol, Corey, Gail. Let's see, am I missing anyone? Karen, yeah. Didn't I not say Reverend Kevin? Oh, that's the first one on my list. I'm sorry. Reverend Kevin, thank you for all that you do for our community. And thank you at home all for joining us today. Let's sing.
Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together in love. We are many textures, we are many colors, each one different from another, but we are entwined with one another in one great tapestry. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together in love. We are many instruments playing our own melodies, each one tuning to a different key. But we are all playing in harmony, in one great symphony. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together in love. A moment ago, we did not know our unity, only diversity. Now the Christ in me greets the love in you, in one great family. Weave us together to unity and love. Weave us together in love.
Thank you, Jordan. These closing words are the second part of the reading by Ashley Horan, and adapted to this like Teresa did. So I hope she doesn't mind. You are loved beyond belief. You are enough. You are precious. Your work and your life matter. And you are not alone. You are part of a we, a great cloud of witnesses, living and dead, who've insisted that this beautiful, broken world of ours is a blessing worthy of both deep gratitude and fierce protection. Our ancestors and our descendants are beckoning us, compelling us onward towards greater connection, greater compassion, and greater commitment to one another and to our earth. And so, Beth, will you extinguish our chalice as together we say, carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Thank you. So may it be.
Okay, everyone, we'll see you next Sunday. Same bat time, same bat channel, making powerful trouble with Reverend Leela Sinha. Oh boy. If you'd like, you can get ready and turn on your camera. We'll be unmuting everyone shortly so you can say hello. You'll be invited to join a breakout room for conversation. You can stay in the large room or you can come back to it at any time. And here's a list of today's breakout rooms. Note number 7, the reopening the industrial Idaho, Maryland mine discussion.